got some ideas on the way it should be, but most of them just carry it on.
Happy colored marbles that are rolling in my head, I put them back in the jacket of the one I love. Carry that velvet sack full of pretty colored marbles.
Question: what do you get when you cross Judge Dredd, Battletech, a failed StarCraft tabletop game, and just about whatever leftovers you have from your toy box? Make everything ludicrously large, and then hurl it madly into space. You get Games Workshop. More specifically, you get Warhammer 40k. Now, I like 40k. I'm not a big old fan of it, but there's a lot to enjoy about... Does anybody else hear that? Must just be me. Anyway, sure, there's a million problems with them turning everything interesting into a one-dimensional meme, but there's still stuff to love. Start throwing in video games and their record starts getting a little more spotty, however. Enter Streum on Studio, who have not updated their own website since Deathwing went on pre-order, and now come the fuck on. I cannot be the only person who can hear that. What the fuck is that? Anyway, at some point... Oh no, 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 no!
Say your prayers and so on. Don't forget, my son, to include everyone. I tucked you in or within, keep you free from sin till the Sandman he comes. Sleep with one eye open, gripping your pillow tight. Exit light and tonight. Take my hand, off to never, never land.
You are a Necromunda gentle person, a mercenary or hired gun, I see what you fucking did there, who lives in an industrial hellscape planet of Necromunda. Now, 40k is a pretty normie setting, but Necromunda is the be-all end-all of... You know what, let's just move on. You're on a job and all your friends die, and then you meet your... I guess he's your handler through all of this? Cal Jericho.
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 Really bad joke. He tells you something that I don't remember. You talk to a bartender and some dipshit who can't afford pants, and for some reason, Jerry put some tech inside that massive cavity you call a skull, and now you're just going wherever he tells you to go and doing whatever he tells you to do for no real reason, despite you regularly telling him you ain't gonna. A lengthy series of events transpire, and you meet someone who wants to kill you for the super tech in your skull cavity, and if you're starting to wonder why I harped on 40k having absolutely zero ideas of its own, this is about the time where you'll find your answer. The story is unfortunately meaningless. The plot does nothing and goes nowhere for the game's entire runtime, and it just ends with you killing this bitch, and then the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla puts a hit out on you. Credits roll, the end. What was the point of any of that? Maybe if you have trash taste and are just super into Necromunda, these names, places, and events will spark something in you, but as a guy who likes 40k, Necromunda is shit, so it all just came out as meaningless jargon to me. At the start of the game, you actually get to pick your character, which is an interesting concept and gives you different voice acting. Neato! Doesn't change the game all that much, but it's always nice to have the option to pick surly Scottish redhead. You get a series of augmetics to acquire and upgrade, and they won't serve too much of a purpose in the early game, but as you progress, become more useful as per your playstyle. There's a teleport attack with a high proportion of just missing outright, a berserker melee buff which sucks, some sort of electric pulse that does absolutely nothing as far as I can tell, a slow time power, and a couple more, but we're just going to leave it at that. Aside from your own augmetics, you have a pupper companion whom you summon with a squeaky toy, and I just love mashing the button. He's not super helpful, but his ability to take down single targets and get the guy behind you off your back is tangible, and I did end up missing it when he was on cooldown. Kudos to them for making a pet companion I relied on, but wasn't so broken as fuck as to ruin the playthrough. But all that dumb shit isn't why we're here. It's 90 goddamn degrees out, the hum of zero-turn motors and machine gun fire off in the distance is filling the air, And that can only mean that the endless summer of boomer shooters is still trucking. Yes! They decided that this time around, instead of being awful, they would follow the Doom 4, Shadow Warrior, and Titanfall route and give players some big boy bombast. It's moderately fine. They do absolutely nothing with it, and there's no cool tricks, making half of the movement options worthless. But it's otherwise okay. The player has access to double jumps, slides, dashes, wall runs, and a grappling hook. Let's take them in, I guess, somewhat order. The dash is short and doesn't really offer the player anything. When performed on the ground and moving forward, it turns into the Titanfall slide. Now, the short dash is mostly just for dodging Goliath melee attacks, but the slide actually makes it more difficult for enemies to shoot you. This never really came in handy, but I guess it looked cool. Unfortunately, unlike Titanfall, you can't chain it to do sick bunny hopping maneuvers. Next comes wall running. It's exactly what it says on the tin, and it also lowers enemy accuracy when using. Unfortunately, it has purely jank detection, and no matter what I did, I could not find a way to chain them. End of description. The grappling hook is also exactly what it says on the tin, has mobility utility, and strips enemies of their shields. The end! Aside from double jump, these are the mobility tools you will have at your disposal for the entirety of the game, and no, the game is not built around them. Levels vary between massive corridors and larger areas filled with tiny corridors, neither of which giving you the ability to utilize wall runs as a combat maneuver, and really only leaving the player using the grappling hook as the dash is so short it only works as a very small dodge. Doom Eternal built its levels around maneuverability and forcing the player to experiment with what they had. Hired Gun doesn't build a single map around what the player has and only focuses on the fact that they have a double jump and a handful of times the fact that they have a grappling hook. It's nice to have these abilities, but they don't actually create any depth in the gameplay, they just provide the illusion of it. Imagine modding wall running, dashing, and grappling hooks into Borderlands, and that's about what the game feels like to play. But how is that gunplay, that looting, upgrade, and finding new things? It's, again, fine. Yet again, however, it lacks depth and only provides the illusion of it. They're all here: stubbers, lasguns, plasmas, grav guns, and bolters, and literally everything before the word bolters is rendered fucking useless by the existence of the bolt guns. You see, bolt guns are massively overpowered, and they should be. Astartes are genetic and technologic super soldiers who are 8 feet tall and weigh a fucking ton, and wield weapons that commit war crimes. Their standard issue are bolt guns. The standard issue of the Imperial Guard are lasguns, which don't destroy concrete, they fucking melt it! Fucking melting concrete! And the most basic of bolt guns put that effect to shame. So yes, they are supposed to be superpowered Doom engines, which is why the game's entire difficulty curve fell the fuck apart when I got my first bolt rifle during the 3rd level. Bolt rifle. Humans don't wield bolt rifles. In the hands of a human, a bolt pistol is a rifle. And here I am getting my first big boy rifle somewhere in the hour or so mark. So imagine a human picking up a heavy bolter, which is a heavy weapon for a superpowered space soldier when he's in power armor. You're practically single-handing an M2 at this fucking point. But Necro, I hear you interrupting, because yet again, your parents ain't teach you fucking right. Surely ammo is limited. Nope. And you can carry multiple bolters. You are given multiple slots for your loadout. You're given a last resort revolver, a pistol, a regular gun, or is it a standard gun, a special gun, and a slot for something else I don't remember the name of, as well as a temp slot for a gun you want to try out that you found mid-level. And you can put a bolt gun in each. And they don't share an ammo pool. Much like Nightmare Reaper, weapon ammo is designated by slot type. A heavy bolter uses special ammo. Pistol uses pistol ammo. Even if said pistol is a fucking double-barrel shotgun, standard or regular guns use that type, and the revolver uses its own ammo. So by level 5 or 6, I had 3 separate bolt guns, each with their own ammo pool, capping out at 500, and the only reason to swap weapons being did I want to press the fire button every time, hold it down, or hold it down and enemies die faster. Combine this with my bolt pistol having massive damage, putting a mag size of 25 on it, and the rest only having numbers that went up when compared to a shotgun which only holds 8 or a plasma rifle that only holds 6, you can start to see how worthless the variety becomes. There is no reason to use anything other than bolt guns other than wanting to kill things slower and do so with self-imposed limitations. The bolt guns are so goddamn powerful and their upgrades so massive with such little drawback that I literally had one that worked for close range, long range, and crowds, a reminder that this is just one gun, and then 2 more that allowed me to do all of that just faster. There was no point to any other gun. And it gets worse. Remember that special revolver slot? Well, you start the game with a special, trusty, my favorite revolver got me through all the hard times. This is your last-ditch weapon which you will never use. You can't unequip it, you can't sell it, and it will always take up a space in your loadout, meaning if you use weapon cycling, you will always have to cycle past it. You can upgrade it, but it never really becomes any more useful, and you actually acquire better revolvers. That's right, you get higher level versions of this base weapon with its own special slot, and again, you can't unequip it, you can't sell it, it's always there. So when that purple revolver with world-ending damage for a stubber drops and you want to use it, you will now have 2 revolvers equipped, even though you only want the one. What the fuck were these people thinking? Were they high? Were they dropped on their heads as children? Look, I have put forth effort into being more strictly within the tough but fair boundaries and avoid saying things that go too far, but this shit was figured out when I was allegedly in fucking middle school. What the absolute fuck were the developers thinking? This is the dumbest, most brain-dead shit I have encountered in a shooter, and I genuinely hope whoever made this decision and the person who gave it the green light got fucking fired. AI is not that great. It's not terrible, but it's pretty bog standard, and then there's the bosses who I literally just stand in their face unloading into them because they don't move and the game uses Bloodborne-style rally system to keep you in the fray rather than Doom's glory kill stuff. And make no mistake, glory kills in this game exist, and as long as you remove an enemy's shield, you can glory kill them even if they're at full health and currently shooting in your face. It's fucking stupid! Rips the camera all over the place, is glitchy, makes you invincible, and is nearly impossible to see what the fuck is going on. It fucking sucks. Hey look! I've been using a controller my entire playthrough, and for some reason the HUD has keyboard and mouse prompts on it. Are you trying to tell me something? Are you calling me a little bitch? Or are you just incompetent developers? The game looks great. The graphics are tight, but everything is trash, scrap, and rust. Everything, fucking everything from start to finish looks like a sewer level or trash heap level on a scale you would expect from 40K. There's one level that kind of looks like it was ripped from the Dread 95 film scenery, but that's really about it. Variety is the spice of life, and there is none here. From level design to what the mechanics and gun options provide, there is no life. There's a clear power scale, and it's so clear that it kills itself on your behalf. I'm sure it's pretty, but after an hour in, you've seen everything there is to see, and what the absolute fuck is with the model of the character I chose? Who did this to you? Look what they did to my baby. Look how they massacred my girl! The soundtrack would be truly good, maybe even great, if it wasn't suffering a massive crisis of identity. It dances between 3 states: 80s action flick synth, boomer shooter metal, and non-existent. The 80s action synth is fine. The boomer shooter metal is more Hulschult's work on Nightmare Reaper than it is Mick Gordon, and yes, I went through at least 2 levels where there wasn't a single note played. The metal is good, the synth is fine. They're not super great, they just give that dirty, sticky feeling of a game from a franchise that has no true identity of its own and only takes everyone else's ideas and slaps them where they don't belong. Even more egregious than levels just not having any fucking music is the sound mixing, which dialogue is regularly muffled and gets lost behind ambience. Constantly. Just fucking constantly. Warhammer 40K Necromunda Hired Gun is a budget title that is the single worst budget title available on the market right now. It's the most incompetent boomer shooter out there, and the only reason I managed to see it through to the end is because it's still kind of fun, but that fun doesn't offset the massive level of incompetence and lack of variety. Every time the game tries to introduce a new concept, it gets sidelined by level design that doesn't support it, or weapons that you got 4 levels ago that just render it entirely worthless. It's not worth it for fans of boomer shooters because there's better options for cheaper. Hell, Project Warlock 2 just got announced. Look forward to that instead. It's not worth it for fans of 40K because if you have $30 to spend on it, you should probably spend it on an actually good game. It's not worth it for the graphics because they're meaningless, and great graphics on a budget title always means performance hiccups out the wazoo. It's got nothing I can say is truly good. It shoots itself in the foot every time something half good pops up. Sure, it's fun to play for most of it, But when games that make the same mistakes it makes are more fun, cheaper, and their mechanics actually have a function, you're destined to enjoy a life of obscurity with the rest of the 40k shovelware. I'm the Necroswanson, and you can go fuck yourselves. Okay, I'm genuinely curious. How does this shit actually taste? It's like seafoam and jizz flavored spree candy.